All right.
Yeah.
I took the bus here, which I thought would get me here like right on time because that's how I thought the buses worked. And I would have gotten here at like 7 on the dot. Like I realized that while I was on the bus, I was like, okay, I just got off at a random stop and started walking. And then I was like, oh man, even that I'm going to get here super early. So I was just walking up and down Bensford Road, and somebody honked at me and they waved, and I was like, all right, I guess they read jobless on my shirt.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're listening to PTBOCanada Live, and that was our level check right there. And so I wasn't going to ask you off of the microphone because I wanted to ask you now.
All right.
I've heard your last name pronounced many times, and they did it at the City-Its when I saw you and Mike Mooring performing there. But they said Adam Martignetti.
Yeah.
So I want to know, because when I read it phonetically, it's Adam Martignetti.
Yes.
That is incorrect.
That's let's get that off the table right away.
My guess,
okay.
Adam Martignetti.
That is very, very close. Okay, so my family is from Italy.
Oh, yep.
And over there, if somebody were to say my full name, this is how I'm like 100% sure it would be pronounced. Adamo Giuseppe Martignetti. Something like that. Martignetti, yeah. Like the G basically turns it into this weird Y sound.
Okay.
But over here in Canada, if people just go, Martignetti, that's totally fine. But yeah, every now and then people, they try to go for the Martignetti, that kind of thing. And that works too. I mean, I still know who they're talking about.
Right. Martignetti, a mountain man.
I forget what it means, but it's the small version of Martinetto, which is I want to say it's some kind of pasta, but that might just be me being self-racist.
Self-racism. I think it exists. All right. Well, welcome to episode 20 of the podcast. And before we go on, I just want to do a quick shout out for the sponsors. Usually when you're watching things like this on YouTube, the little skip button comes up, but unfortunately you're not going to have that because this is actually just part of the program. And we want to thank Ben Van Veen Realty for still sponsoring this podcast. And Ben Van Veen, he's you see his signs all over Peterborough. And the great thing about Ben, and it's kind of a unique thing. I don't know how many people are doing this in terms of realtors, but it's like if you have a house, and most people, what they want to do is they want to fix it up before they sell it so they can try and get more money. But if you don't have any money to fix your house up before you sell it to get more money, what he'll do is he'll put his own money into fixing up your house for you.
Oh, wow.
Or something along those lines. And the contractors will come in, they'll soup everything up, and then he'll sell it for more money, and then you just pay him the difference afterwards. So it's kind of a win-win for both sides there. So, that's Ben Van Veen, and you can always check him out at benvanveen.realtor. Thank you once again for sponsoring the podcast. Now, let's get down to business. Joining me now, Adam Martignetti. You know this guy, and everyone knows it. And you know you're known now around Canada through the CBC. Because
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, maybe somehow. A lot of people have watched your web series Jobless. You're wearing a Jobless shirt right in front of you, and as you're mentioning, you're walking up and down Bensford Road. People are honking as you're wearing a shirt that says Jobless. And maybe they're honking in support of you because there's a job problem in Peterborough.
Yeah, I figure it's either 50-50. You're either saying like, oh, if you have enough money to get a job that says, or a shirt that says Jobless, why are you advertising that fact? Or just maybe they're fans of the show.
All right, and people in Peterborough will know you well because you're an actor, and
I am.
You're a stage actor, television actor. You've been in radio.
I have, yes.
I didn't know that. In what form?
I was on Trent Radio from, I think, 2008 to 2009. No, 2007 to 2009. First, I had a show with two friends of mine. It was called Ignorant Bliss with Dave and Adam and Leah, and we just talked about stuff like movies and music and stuff like that. And then I actually became a producer, so I was like in charge of a specific day at Trent Radio, and I had a show then where I just played music, that kind of thing. But what sort of like halfway through my tenure as doing that, I realized that I was supposed to close down the Trent Radio at about 10 o'clock at night. And I just thought to myself, what happened if I just stayed here and stayed on the air? And that's when me and basically the same people who I did Ignorant Bliss with, we started something called Trent Radio After Dark.
I've heard of this.
Where we just just talked about whatever, and we just sort of had like people call in and stuff like that. And eventually, when it came time for the end of that sort of season, I guess, we did Trent Radio After Dark, Dark Till Dawn, where we went on at 10 in the morning or at 10 at night, and we stayed until about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, just doing crazy stuff, and people came in and came out and things like that. I think we ordered the pizza. It was fun.
That's wild. You know what? And I'm being honest. If you look at the dial inside my car, the first one is Trent Radio, and it's the station I listen to the most because it's just so free. You never know what the hell you're going to hear on that. And I think it's something that's that regular radio is really missing.
I agree.
Is like unique, just kind of. I want to be able to delve into someone's brain. I want to sit there and just figure out someone and have them introduce me to new things. I don't want the same thing all over, but you know what? I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. but aside from that, first of all, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
You're an interesting guy.
Thank you.
I've been doing some reading up, and I've been on your IMBD, and you have an IMBD, which is cool.
I do, yes. I used to have a picture on it, but now that I don't pay for IMDb Pro, I don't have a picture.
Oh, that gives you the picture.
Yeah.
And so you've been in some productions, and
I have, yes.
It's pretty cool. So, like we were just talking off the mic before, you took your sister to go see Pitch Perfect.
Yes, Pitch Perfect 2. Yeah.
And you weren't a big fan of that, but
I didn't love it.
Okay. that was a little nicer than off the microphone. But well, one of the things I was just thinking of is that you must be looking at it through a different set of eyes than what I would be.
I guess I might be. I'm actually looking at it through, one set of eyes, but I'm processing it through like completely different ways. Just from one side, the acting sense, and I'm seeing people in it that I know are great, fantastic comedic actors, and they're sort of shoehorned into this movie because it's got a bigger budget this time around, and they know that if these people are in it, people will watch it and that kind of thing. And I'm enjoying what they're doing. I'm like, okay, they're sort of tailoring their own sort of, acting. Well, this is bad. Tailoring their own acting technique to this style and things like that. And then from the other sense that I'm watching it, because I'm also an audio engineer. I went to school for audio engineering and everything. And like I'm listening to it and I'm just like, if I were mixing this particular song that they're singing or whatever, like everything sounds really dry. And I'm just like, I just want to get my hands on this, but I also don't because it's Pitch Perfect. So
you went to school for audio engineering?
I did, yes. Whoa. Before I decided to become an actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what made you want to get into that?
I love music a lot. Like it's one of the things I grew up listening to and I just, it's something that sort of, there was always music I could talk about or listen to that would be like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now, or that's what I want to do. And I've been writing music since 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, my friend introduced me to this music writing software, and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I, in 2009, I was like, all right, I'm gonna actually sit down and figure this stuff out.
Was it Fruity Loops?
It was not. It was a program called Reason, which if there's anybody else out there who makes music, you're probably familiar with that, because Apple also has their own program called Logic. And I kind of wonder if one of them was piggybacking off the other for that. But I've since transitioned to a program called Ableton, which I just find much more adaptable and things like that. It sort of meshes the best of both worlds in terms of Reason for writing and producing, and also Pro Tools for actually recording and editing and things like that.
All right, and so the music that you're making, I mean, you have an album which is
yes.
Which is out, or
it is out. It came out on June 5th. I would release an EP or an album every 6 months, and I've been doing that since I want to say 2011, 2010, and I started doing that. I think I released the first one on June 6, 2012-ish, 2011 maybe, on my sister's birthday. And I was like, all right, this is a great way to just give her a present and not actually have to pay for anything. And I've been doing that ever since. And now I've released 5 EPs, 2 albums, 15 remixes, 5 edits, and just like 30-odd just single one-offs.
Now, it's all electronic. It's all produced within this program.
Yes, yeah. I don't record anything live in just because I think I'm a much better writer rather than performer.
Okay.
And when I say much better, I mean, that's a very low bar to begin with.
And so, where do you get your influence for this style of music? Like, first of all, explain like what someone would hear, because I listened to the album, but I want to hear it come from you first.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this album, and you're around my age, which is like 28 or even older, what I'm thinking that you would sort of be nostalgic for while you're listening to this is like the very early sort of introductory videos to like, hey, this is the internet, this is what your computer can do, and things like that. And the album sort of the idea for it started out as like this concept where this guy sort of gets sucked into a computer, and I'm like, okay, well that's pretty Tron-like. Maybe I'll try to shy away from that. And so I stuck to the main sort of computer idea, but I expanded it so that there could be more sounds than just like blips and bloops from computers and stuff. One of the tracks, like, it's got a very orchestral sort of feel to it. Another track is made entirely from samples that are from like old 60s Italian movie soundtracks, and it was really fun to do, because I was like, all right, I've got 6 months to come up with something that I feel good about, and I ended up finishing it back in May.
Yeah. Speaking of Italian 60s movie soundtracks, there's one of my favorite artists is a guy named Mike Patton. And he's an incredible vocal artist, but a great song arranger and producer as well. And he made this album called Mondo Cane. And it's from all 1960s Italian pop songs and soundtracks and whatnot. And he, I guess, got an Italian orchestra together and went and he sang all of these songs. If you ever have a chance to listen to it, it is incredible. I don't know if do you speak?
Not very well.
You might pick out a couple of words. I feel like I can speak it now. I have no idea what I'm saying, but I can sing to his songs. When I was listening to your album, it made me think of, and I sent you a link, was to this group called Logic System.
Yes, yeah.
And really, it's just this one Japanese guy who started like playing the Moog like years like in the 70s. Right. But it kind of gave me that feel where there's like this. It's not necessarily a sense of campiness with the music, but it's just a sense of, some songs can be really fun, and then some songs can be very dissonant, and it kind of weaves you through an entire album, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. It's very chill, kind of thing you want to put on headphones and just kind of sit on a couch and close your eyes.
Yeah, I'm sort of trapped in a loop now, because whenever I'm writing music, I'll always export like a rough draft of it so I can listen to it when I'm not sitting at my computer, and just sort of pick out things I wouldn't have noticed before, things like that. And I get into this phase where I'm listening to my own music over and over again, and I can't stop listening to it. Even now that I'm finished the album, every time I get on the bus or whatever, I'm like, all right, let's listen to that one more time, just make sure.
I hear Drake does that when he drives around in his Rolls Royce down in Toronto. He just blares his own tunes, just in case you didn't know that's Drake going by.
Well, now I know. Me and Drake are very similar.
Maybe. But the way I always knew you was as an actor. That's the first time I experienced you, and the first time I ever saw your name, and I'd never met you, was through the Jobless series.
Right.
And
yes.
I watched the first episode, and I looked at it, and I'm like, this was made in Peterborough. But like this is actually made in Peterborough by people who live in Peterborough, and this looks really good. And you guys did a good job. It was like a legitimate show that you would see on television.
That was our plan.
Yeah. And I mean, you went into the CBC Comedy Coop, but what I wanted to know is, I guess, how did it come about, Jobless, and your relationship with Mike?
Well, Mike and our relationship, I keep thinking about it, thinking like, what is the first time that Mike and I ever really interacted or anything like that? And there was, back in like 2001, 2002, a friend, he sent me a video over MSN Messenger that took ages to get to me, but I was like, all right, I want to see this, because he talked it up, and I had no idea what exactly I was going to be looking at. And I finally opened this video, and it's this guy, he comes staggering out of the classroom, shooting blood everywhere from his neck. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Did this actually happen? And my friend's like, no, that's just this guy who goes to our school. He makes movies and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then years later, Mike shows me this video, and it's that. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew who Mike was all these years ago. And there were about two or 3 years where I worked at Galaxy Cinemas. And it was around the time that Mike had his own radio show on Trent Radio with a friend of ours named Earl, who's fantastic. He's a teacher, and whoever his students are, they are blessed.
Yeah.
But they had a show called Mike and Earl's Fortnightly Follies, and they would do a lot of like on the street interviews with people. And so I was a fan of the show for a while. And one night they came into Galaxy when I was working, and I walked up and I spoke with them, and they interviewed me. And and years later, when Mike and I were, friends, and we were talking about that, he's like, I felt so bad because this whole time you're talking to me, you're acting like you know me, but I had no idea who you were. And I was like, okay, all right, well that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
But then when I was at Trent Radio, I thought it'd be funny if my show and his show had like some kind of rivalry kind of thing. So I messaged him about it, but nothing really came from it. But he got back to me and he was very nice about it. And he was like, yeah, sure, it sounds good, but what could we do? And we didn't really think of anything beyond there. And then we actually, I think it was just a project I heard about through somebody else that he was doing a short film for the Millbrook 3-Minute Film Festival. And I showed up and I was an extra for it, and we just sort of became buds. And he actually gave me my first lead role in anything, in terms of like, something that was well produced and stuff like that. And unfortunately, it's something I'm proud of, but it's also something like, I don't know if I'd love it if everybody saw it, but if you want to look it up, go right ahead. It was around the time that Christian Bale had that big freak out on the set of Terminator.
Right.
And at the time I was going to school, so I was down in Toronto, and I was just basically I was either in class or I was back at my apartment, and I was just really bored out of my mind. And then I see Mike post on Facebook looking for somebody to be in this project. Nudity may be required. And I was like, all right, well, how could I possibly embarrass myself with this? And so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
So you were comfortable with the nudity side of things?
Well, I eventually was, yeah.
Yeah.
And so his idea was we would take the Christian Bale rant, like that whole speech, and recontextualize it as if it were on the set of a pornographic film. and it was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of great people that day.
Is this online?
It's on Funny or Die, and it's on YouTube.
It's on Funny or Die?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it was about 9 hours of me just screaming, standing in a room full of people, and I'm completely naked. My entire idea was, all right, I need to be the most comfortable person here, so everyone else is comfortable. And I don't know if everybody else was comfortable, but I got very comfortable.
So you're completely new. Did they blur you out, or
they did? Yes, yeah, after the fact. But that was before I found out about the magic of things called modesty packs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which apparently everybody wears them. It's
like kind of like a fake nude underwear thing.
It's basically it's skin toned, and you.
I'm just kidding. I'm wearing one right now. So it's for my wife.
Okay, so you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, with that, I mean, had you already been studying acting, or did you fall into it?
I've been acting on and off since 1999. I was in a production of Peter Pan at the Peterborough Theatre Guild, and I played one of the Lost Boys that didn't have a name, so I gave him a name. It was Hey You.
Yeah.
And my only line in the entire play was, "Hey guys, wait up."
That was it.
Yeah. And but that was enough for me. I was like, all right, maybe I want to do this more. And then in high school, I was at this amazing program called. Oh, I feel bad now.
Well, what high school?
I went to Crestwood Secondary School up in the West End, and the program was called Media Co-op, and that was started by Ross Davies, who's a fantastic teacher, and he's so motivated about all this stuff, and he really motivated a lot of us to actually take an interest in this.
Yeah.
When I was in that class, our show was. It was called Northwood, and it was all about the disappearance of this girl, and everybody in the class played a character in this TV show. And my character, I think he had like a lisp, and he he was part of this group that was all about, like conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And that was a lot of fun. And then I just sort of did like a few small things between then and when Mike did the Christian Bale thing, which if you are going to search for it, search Bale Exposed.
Bale Exposed. Would it pop up on YouTube?
It would, yeah.
I'm totally looking this up tonight. I can't wait to see your modest package. Oh no, modesty package, and you're not wearing one. Never mind.
Yeah, and then after that project, we did like a couple things between then and then he did a short film called Natasha, which I did some of the sound on, and I played like a character in it really quickly. And after that, he had a son, which is awesome. His son's name is Oliver. He's 4 now.
Yeah.
And one day I was just over visiting, and we were hanging out, and we were talking about, I think we were just joking around about jobs that we used to have in our past. And eventually we were like, we should make a show that's just sort of all about the crazy jobs we've had and stuff like that. And just the stories turned into scripts, and from there came Jobless. And I mean, that was like 5 years ago, and now we've got 3 episodes out, so we're taking it slow.
Yeah. Well, what's the worst job you've ever had?
I think, objectively speaking, I want to say grade 10, I was hired by the Peterborough Wellness Center to be Santa Claus for a day. And like I'm a bigger guy now, but back then I was like on the cross country team and the soccer team. So I don't want to say svelte, but I like saying svelte. So I was a svelte guy.
Yeah.
And they gave me a Santa Claus outfit, and I was supposed to stand outside of the Peterborough Wellness Center and give people going into a gym a whole bunch of candy. And I was like, all right, that's not, it wasn't a terrible job in itself. But I was out there like the whole day. And then when I came in, because I was told it paid like $12 an hour or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. I'll do that for a day. And I go in, and they paid me in a swim pass that expired like that day.
So you can go take a dip in the pool.
Yeah. And they'd already closed for the day. So like I was, I still have the pass, but that's useless.
Well, I mean, I think their hearts were in the right place, because you would have been hot in that suit.
Yeah.
So maybe go take a dip in the pool. Or
no, they're definitely. I can understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, cold hard cash is much more preferable.
For me, it was I was a landscaper for years.
Oh, okay.
Like 10 years, all through like at the end of grade school, all through high school.
Oh, wow.
And even into my early 20s, I was a landscaper on and off. And it was like the best job, but it had some of the worst side effects to it.
Right.
Like one of the worst parts, because it was in Toronto, it was cleaning garbage off of the boulevards of busy streets.
Oh boy!
And having people who would throw garbage out of their cars while you're doing it, and it was that I really hated that part of the job. And one part, I was in Scarborough in this townhouse complex. And there was this bag of leaves, like one of these brown bags of leaves, that was sitting in someone's backyard for the entire summer. And then we were doing a fall cleanup.
Oh, boy.
Or we're starting the fall cleanup. Actually, it was like the end of August, early September.
Okay.
And my boss, his name was Mircea, and he was this ex-Romanian boxer who had a big Super Mario mustache, missing teeth, and he was missing a finger that he got lopped off in the blades of something as a landscaper.
Wow.
And one day he's like, Mike, get over, grab that bag, throw it in the back of that truck. So I go over and I go to pick up this bag, and the bag pulls off, and like everything stays inside, and there's a dead dog.
Oh my God.
Inside of the bag. Now, it's not that there's a dead dog inside of the bag.
Okay.
It was that there was a wasp nest inside of the dead dog inside of the bag. So when I pulled it off, I was like, dead dog. And then I was like, bees! And I got stung like 10 times as I ran away from this thing. And so like that was bad. And also I worked at Food Basics for 3 hours once. And the way they welcome you on board is like, well, here's 5 shopping carts of miscellaneous items. Go familiarize yourself with the store and find out where they all go.
Oh, wow.
It was like reverse supermarket sweep. It was the worst. So those are my 2 worst ones there. But so you guys, you have this conversation about your worst jobs. You go and you start writing scripts.
Yes.
And now you have 3 episodes. 4th is on the way?
The 4th is on the way. Slowly but surely we will get it done.
How hard is it making these damn things?
It's not so much the actual getting to it and making it. It's finding the time to get to it and make it. We originally planned, and this was even ambitious for us, we planned on having the 4th episode out by April. And we were all gung-ho for it, but then just one thing led to another, and there were so many roadblocks that came up. They were like, all right, let's just put that on the shelf for now. We will come back to it. I want to say we're going to have the 4th episode out before Christmas of this year, which is 2015 for those of you listening far in the future. But I can't promise that. But Mike told me to say that for as big as our fan base is right now, every episode gets bigger because we sort of feed off of that. We love that people are actually interested in this. And I totally agree. And yeah, like if people are still like sharing this and talking about it and stuff like that, it's not so much like we're holding it hostage until people do that, but it's like if people are doing that, like that lets other people know and get involved in sort of the jobless universe, that kind of thing, because everything that we do is volunteer work with each other. Like it's right now it's Mike, myself, and Aaron Peacock and Aiden Kennedy, and everybody is volunteering their time and their equipment and their services and everything for this, because that's all something that we believe in, which is absolutely fantastic. Like you don't find that a lot.
Well, it's incredible because so it's just 4 of you guys putting together this whole show.
It is, yes.
So it's like camera and then boom mic and then actors.
Right. Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah,
I thought it would have been way more people.
It would be better, or at least faster if it was.
Yeah.
I ran into some people last week that expressed interest in helping out, and like they know what they're doing and stuff like that, so I trust them. So definitely once we get production started, I'm going to be including these people, and they're going to really want to be a part of it, and they can help just make that process so much faster as well.
You got to be careful of the leeches, right? Because as soon as someone starts seeing you're getting a little bit of success, they want to just jump on board, right? And
well, there is that, but I mean, there's not much for them to suck.
What are you going to suck my volunteer hours?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that would be a great insult. Hey, buddy, suck my volunteer hours. That's whatever that means. But yeah, so it looks like a much bigger production than I guess what you guys are doing to make it happen, which is great.
And that's all of that is because we have this very specific vision of what we want to do. Like our last episode, it was all about us delivering pizzas and that kind of thing, and we did it sort of in the style of like a Drive sort of parody, that kind of thing. And we spent a full 16-hour day in somebody's garage filming all of the driving scenes, like for the interior of the car, because we had our actor for that day for one day, and the next day he was taken off to like Newfoundland or something to just spend the summer going to weddings.
So you're shooting in a garage. Do you have a green screen or something?
We did not. We just had all the lights off and everything, all the windows blacked out.
Yeah.
And we had like just one guy was he was holding the camera doing all that, and the other guy he had a red light that he would it was facing down, and then he would slowly bring it up and then point it up and then bring it back down, and that was supposed to be like cars going by, that kind of thing.
That's funny.
And that was a full day of just doing all that stuff, and it was perfect. Like you don't really notice it in the episode, but the driver, Stephen Cullen, he's a fantastic actor. He was just in a short that won an award at some New York Film Festival. He's wearing a jacket that I found at some Value Village type place in Toronto. And I spray painted it silver, and I even put like a little scorpion on the back, just like the Ryan Gosling's character in Drive. And I think you see that for about 1 second in the episode.
That's it, eh?
And but like we were just like, this is so important that this is that we actually have this, so we can ourselves sort of get into that headspace. And then there's another scene where it's sort of like something out of The Exorcist, where we shot it at my dad's house out in Cavan, and we just had one like smoke machine and then 4 cars pointed at the house with all the lights on, high beams, and it's crazy, like just all this stuff that we're doing to achieve these very specific things. And finally, we put it out and people are like, wow, that's exactly how I would picture this, or things like that.
That's crazy. If you were to put a price tag on an episode, how much does it cost to make something like this?
Oh, that's a good question. If we were to buy all of our equipment brand new, like say, we want to start from scratch, and it's all the stuff that we have now. If we were to buy it all brand new, I would say just that alone would probably somewhere be in like the $30,000 range, but that's only because we already have all of these computers and laptops and stuff like that we use, but all the cameras and audio equipment and
the man hours.
Exactly. Oh God, if we had to pay ourselves, we would go bankrupt instantly. But yeah, and all the other people who are in this that aren't Mike and myself, they're Peterborough actors, or they're even Peterborough business owners. Like the guy who owns Gotta Have a Pizza, that's in episode 2 and 3. He's actually the owner of Gotta Have a Pizza. He went to school with Mike and he bought Gotta Have a Pizza. And this is not a plug for Gotta Have a Pizza. I'm not being paid in any way for this.
Do you want pizza? Do you need to have a pizza?
Do you gotta have a pizza?
You gotta?
Then get Gotta Have a Pizza. No, it's fantastic. And it's up in the West End, so it's not that far from me. And it's gotten to the point now where they know my name and I call in and I'm just like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm gonna call back.
Yeah, absolutely. When you start getting ins with the Gotta Have a Pizza people, you keep calling back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've really, you're not born and raised Peterborough, are you?
I was born in Springville, which is about 10 minutes outside of Peterborough. So. And then I moved out to Cavan, and then when I was 18, my family moved into Peterborough. So I've been around, but now I'm firmly in.
Yeah, you are, but like if you're in theater and you're in the arts in Peterborough, there's a firmly entrenched scene here of people.
Absolutely, yes.
You end up knowing everyone.
Exactly. It's a very strong community. And I mean, not to go back to Jobless, but we've been drawing on that heavily for Jobless. Like I'll be honest, back when we were starting to make the first episode of Jobless, Mike is like, oh, we definitely need to get these Idiots guys in the show at some point. And even in the first episode, we have Ken Gibb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Idiots? What's a Idiot? What's going on with that? And then very quickly I got on board because the Idiots they're the best. Like they're fantastic. And now that I'm at Second City in the conservatory program, like I appreciate everything that they do so much more.
You're at Second City now?
I am, yes.
Really? How's that going?
That is, it's awesome. In one word, it's awesome. It's a full year of classes that you put on a full Second City main stage show at the end of it.
Wow.
You come up with all your sketches and everything through improv.
Yeah.
And then you write it all down eventually. And then you present it on the Second City main stage. So people who are going to the Second City to see a Second City show, they come and they see us.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
Is it scary?
It kind of was at first. Like auditioning, I was like, I really don't know. If I get into this, how am I going to feel about it? Also, if I don't get into this, how am I going to feel about that?
What did they make you do for a Second City audition?
What you do is you go in with, I think, 6 other people, or at least I was in a group of 6 other people, and there's a panel of judges. And they're all in some way associated with Second City. Some are teachers. One of them is like the program director at Second City. And you basically they tell you the layout of the audition. There's going to be a scene where you have to do this. You have to come up with a scene using this suggestion and stuff like that. And I auditioned with, like I said, 6 other people. And I think of all of us, I think half of us got into just my class alone. And that was really, really surprising and also awesome because it's a hard program to get into.
Wow.
And then I see these other guys got in and I'm like, this is exciting. I already have a background with you guys, and yeah, since then, like all the new people that I've met, there's even somebody else from Peterborough in my class. And it's just like, it's such a small world, but at the same time, this huge universe of people that you need to know that one person. And then it sort of spreads out from there. And all of a sudden, you know everybody.
So where do you want to go? I mean, your Second City improv is, I think when it comes to comedy and comes to especially like sketch comedy and acting, I would think that improv would be vital to be able to have those skills to just go off the top of your head when needed.
It's pretty handy.
So when you have this experience through Second City, where do you want to go with all this? Are you going to do a move to LA, New York, something like that? No, I mean that's a.
I would like to eventually. Right now, in terms of acting, like I've got an agent and everything. I'm going down to Toronto at least 2 or 3 times a week for auditions, things like that. And I so far with my agent, I've landed 2 TV shows, 1 commercial, and then 1 short film that I actually got the lead in.
Was that the TD commercial?
Yes,
that was with the onesies. Hilarious.
Yeah, I got to keep that onesie.
Cool.
At the end of it, I was like, "Is anybody else going to use this?" No, take it. And that was a lot of fun. But I think the most fun project I've had working on so far. I was picked as the lead for this short film called Little Dougie, which is
it's not out yet, right?
It's not out yet, but we're hoping that it gets into TIFF this season.
Are you Little Dougie?
I am Little Dougie.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And it's sort of like sort of thinking back on my whole career and things like that. Bail Exposed really got me ready for Little Dougie.
Oh,
because there is some nudity in Little Dougie on my part. In actual fact, there's less nudity from me in this Little Dougie than there was in Bail Exposed.
Yeah. There's less?
There's less, yeah.
But is it more interesting nudity? Or?
It's very it helps further the story.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, Little Dougie, it's all about this guy who he wants to. He's like, he works in IT, that kind of thing, like that's his life, and he wants to do something bigger and better, and he's just obsessed with this one adult movie star, who in reality she was a lovely person. She's actually going back to school for like her business degree.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea is he goes to audition for one of these adult films, and he doesn't quite, I guess the phrase is, measure up.
Right. Okay.
So he goes home, and in his despair, he ends up somehow summoning the devil, who then I guess you could say gives him everything he wanted and more. And then of course, as with everything, when you make a deal with the devil, you've really got to hammer out those fine points, or else you might get.
You might get something you didn't bargain for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Does Little Dougie become like Gargantuan Dougie, or?
He very well might.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want it to be spoiled, because when I was looking at your IMDb and it said Little Dougie, I thought that was absolutely. It's just a funny sounding thing. First, it went to like. I was thinking of like Doug Gilmour, the old hockey player. There's so many possibilities with a title like that. So you've got this coming out.
Yeah, and I've also got another short film that I'm a very small part of called Room 121, and that comes out at the end of June 2015. And it was just I did one day in Toronto doing this short film where it was sort of like that movie from back in the 90s called 4 Rooms, where it was 4 different directors
right. Tarantino,
telling a story all about this one hotel room. And this is room 121. It's all about the writer Nabokov. He rents out it's about a writer in modern day who rents out a hotel room that was rented by Nabokov at one point. And the whole idea is every time this guy goes into the closet and comes back out, it's a different time. So there's different people in this hotel room. And I play this guy who he owes money to these gangsters, and he ends up getting killed by them, that kind of thing, because he doesn't have the money. And that I was actually in. I showed up early for the shoot and everything, and I'm sitting down and I'm talking to some of the people, like the producers and stuff, and they're talking about these 2 scary, scary guys they got to play these gangsters, and I'm starting to get like a little worried about this, like how scary are these guys? And one of them shows up, and he's just the nicest guy and everything, but I'm just like, I know that you can turn on being scary in a second, and that kind of worries me. And then this other guy shows up who like they were really afraid of, and he was actually a guy I did Second City classes with back in like 2012. So he shows up and he just takes me in this big bear hug, and he's this monster of a man who he's got muscles that can like break a coconut.
Isn't it weird? Who's that guy that's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine now?
Terry Crews.
Yeah. Because normally when it comes to the comic and watching a guy perform, the good-looking muscular guys aren't funny because I'm looking at you. I'm like, I want to laugh at someone. I can't laugh at you because you're better than me. But isn't it weird when sometimes you find like that good-looking, big, muscular guy or that beautiful woman, and you can actually laugh at them? That I guess they find a niche out there.
Yeah, it's this guy. His name is Murray. He originally he wanted to be a police officer, so that explains his physique and everything. He wanted to be the best there was.
It's like Luke Foster from The Idiots.
and then one day I think somebody was just like, you know what, you could be like an extra on some action movie kind of thing, and he's like, maybe I could be, but maybe I don't want to just be an extra. So now he's like a full-time actor, and he's getting a lot of work because there's always work for huge, monstrous, good-looking, strong guys who can act. And it was just like, it's so crazy running into this guy. And then we had a blast shooting this thing where he hits me on the back of the head with a hammer.
Well, it sounds like you're really getting into it sounds like you're doing what you want to do.
I am definitely trying. And
how hard is it?
Well, I mean, when it comes to auditions, for commercial auditions, they're looking for something so very specific.
Right.
So if your hair is half an inch too long, all right, let's move on to the next guy. But with actual movie auditions or TV show auditions and things like that, it's just if you can get across what feeling they want you to get across, then you're set. And the big thing that I've found when I'm auditioning is that if I can be, once again, the most comfortable person in the room, then everybody else just gets that much more comfortable. They're not doing their job anymore. They're actually enjoying what you're doing.
And you have to be smart and when it comes to interpreting the script.
Exactly, yeah. I remember a casting director that I sort of know. He did an interview the other day where he talks about when you go into an audition, don't just do some crazy character right off the bat, because then they don't casting directors don't know where to go from there.
Right.
So go in and be as authentic as you can, because you can always get direction after the fact. And that's just something that's super important, I think, for everybody who's going to audition for something or even for job interviews. If you go in and you think I need to be this, and then they're looking for something completely different, you have to be able to show that you can be that.
You have to be a chameleon.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you just pigeonhole yourself into one specific character, and then your opportunities for jobs are very, very marginalized.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just I'm running into a lot of the same people now at auditions, and I'm just like, all right, that's the guy from this. This is the guy from all those Canadian Tire commercials and stuff like that. I ran into a guy who was the face of an Orville Redenbacher campaign that lasted a year.
Yeah.
And so just I've seen you everywhere, and he's like, yeah, well, yeah, I am everywhere.
Well,
yeah, exactly. and when I'm not doing that, because I do have downtime when I'm not going to auditions or doing music and stuff like that, and I'm also not working on job lists. I tried to come up with something that I can't, I don't have to rely on other people for, just so that way with my stupid schedule just being all over the place, I can be all right, I want to do this day. So that's when, about last year, just I was having a shower, I was like, what can I do? And then I just sort of had this eureka moment. I can review restaurants for this show, The Dashing Diner, that I've got.
You're getting ahead of me here.
I'm so sorry.
Getting ahead of me here. But no, it was a great idea, reviewing restaurants and The Dashing Diner, which has become a YouTube series.
It has, yes. Yeah. I filmed I think 5 episodes last year. And then the last 2 this year, just because I had them and I didn't know what to do with them, that kind of thing. And then I started releasing them back in February, and they've gotten a really good reception as well.
Yeah.
And I'm working on the 2nd season right now. And I'm adding a new twist to it that you sort of see near the end of the 1st season, where I'm having guests on.
Cool.
I've got Andrew Root from The Idiots.
Yeah.
And his wife Sarah Ty, who's a teacher at Thomas A. Stewart, and they're a fantastic team, and they're part of Art for Awareness and everything. We talk about that, and then I've also got Dan Smith and stuff like that. And I also may have a certain podcast host, Weatherman, on my show, who could very well be the season premiere.
Ooh,
yeah.
Premiere.
Yes, we just need to lock down shooting dates for that, and once we do, we're in business.
He's probably got a pretty open schedule, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's just getting that place,
Yeah, it's just finding the place. Don't worry. I think you guys will lock it down. But I think it's an awesome idea to go out and do that. And I mean, not just for you and not just for the content side of things, but for the restaurant and local restaurant promotion in Peterborough. On Checks Daily, we do a daily foodie segment every Friday where we bring in a different restaurant. They come in and they get to showcase their meals. They're the chefs. They're the owners. Here's our meal. And it's such a nice organic thing. And I hate the word organic, but it's a nice thing to be able to do. And I only use it because most restaurants use it now.
Right.
But that must be fun for you to go and shoot it because it must be a lot less labor than shooting a job list, right?
The first season, it took about like 2 hours to shoot a full episode. And that was just because I wanted to go through my notes, make sure I said everything properly and that sort of thing. And then the actual editing process took like 6 to 8 hours. And I was like, all right, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so then I've since sort of added the multi-camera aspect of it. So now it's basically set up 2 cameras and then I can just cut back and forth between them and things like that. And that's streamlined the whole process and made it so much easier. But the whole actual going to a restaurant, speaking with the owner and like just having a conversation with them, because you don't usually do that when you go to a restaurant. You just go there, you talk to a waitress, and then you eat. And this, like, everybody I've done an episode with or I've gotten in touch with, they've all been fantastically, like, just nice about the whole thing, and they love the idea and they're just so into it. And it really sort of reminds me that I live in this great community, and I don't know if I could do this somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's one place down in Toronto that I had a hamburger that was so good, I was like, I need to speak to your owner. And they're like, oh, is something wrong? And I was like, no. Something is very right.
Something is right.
Yeah. And
awesome.
So eventually there's going to be 1 or 2 episodes down in Toronto, but right now Peterborough is just where it's at. Yeah. And I if anybody listening to this owns a restaurant, get in touch.
Get in touch.
Yeah, like we can absolutely do an episode there, no problem.
And you can also find him at adammartignetti.com.
That's right. I do have a website.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are running to grab pens and paper, it's ADAMMARTIG.
You can just look in the comments section, just above the comment. It's all in there.
TTI.com. All right, you can do that too.
Just click on read more below the video and it will all be there. I promise you. All the information is right there with the correct spelling.
Perfect.
But for any of you who are hard of sight, he just spelled it for you.
That's right.
I don't know. Hopefully you have a Braille computer and you're able to type it out.
I think those exist.
They do. They absolutely exist. Yeah, Braille computers. I wonder if there's like a Braille pad, like an iPad, but it's Braille.
I mean, they've already got the
market.
touch-sensitive technology, so why not?
Have you been seeing these videos online of like people who get to hear for the first time?
I have, yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah, I watched one today, and it was like, this is what it's like to truly hear for the first time, and it was like babies and like old people and like teenage girls, and like they're all like their eyes light up. That must be insane, hearing sound for the first time.
Yeah,
I mean, what are they hearing before? Like, what's nothing?
Yeah, no, it's like, because I think before all these inventions and hearing aids and things like that, like if you were deaf, that was it. You had to learn sign language or something like that. But yeah, now they pop something in and suddenly it works, and it would be literally life changing.
Well, like when we're older and our hearing and sight starts to crap out, we're going to be laughing because all that technology is going to be way better. I'm never going deaf and blind.
Exactly.
I've been staring into the sun all day today, sticking pencils in my ears. I don't give a shit. Woo!
Right. Yeah.
But no, seriously, I thought those were very moving videos. I don't know if they do it for blind people yet, though.
I think there's got to be some sort of transplant, because I don't know if they can actually go in and fix anything in the eye. But I think as far as transplants go, those might be successful.
Are you an organ donor?
I am not yet.
Me neither. I have not. Well, I haven't donated an organ, but I don't know. I guess I should sign up, eh?
Yeah, I keep thinking to myself, like, that's going to be a last minute decision, but it's like, how do I know when it's the last minute?
Yeah, but like, are they gonna? But like, they might come up to me when I'm well. They'd be like, hey, you're an organ donor. Your kidney's a great match for this little dying boy who needs it. what am I going to do? Turn down Dying Boy and then live on like dialysis? I don't know.
That's a tough decision.
It's a tough decision that I'm not going to make here on the podcast. But one thing,
stay tuned for the next week episode.
So back in February, I did my first thing ever on a stage, and that was with the Idiots.
And you were fantastic.
Thanks, dude. I always wanted to try it. I mean, I did a little bit in high school, like drama class and like that sort of thing, but never really to that effect. And then I was working with them again over the weekend, and I thought up this question earlier today that is just like a generalized question that you'd hear on like Inside the Actors Studio, but I have a beard, so you do too, so it works to ask it. What do you think makes a person want to be a performer?
That is a good question.
You know what I think it is? And maybe it's just for me.
Okay.
I think, you know what makes people performers? I think bullying makes people performers.
Okay. Why is that?
I think it did for me. When I was younger, I was like a short, fat kid. Now I'm very tall and
very tall.
It's still kind of fat. But I was a short, fat, prepubescent little slug boy.
Sure.
And I'd get picked on, and there were older kids, and you would find ways to adapt to, I would at least, to try and make them laugh. Because if you're laughing at me or you're laughing at something I'm doing, then you're not picking on me, you're not beating the shit at me. And it was kind of that way of garnering acceptance. It was weird. And I feel like that's a strong case for a lot of people.
It definitely comes from, for me at least, like I sort of had the opposite experience. I was actually a major bully in grade 1. Wow. I have no idea why. And then just one day I sort of switched and I was like, why would I do this to anybody? And then from then on I was just sort of like a normal kid. But even that, like in grade 2, I did, I'm using the finger quotes here. I did stand up. For our school's talent show, which was composed entirely of jokes I just copied down from a joke book, and everyone loved them though, so that counts, I guess. And I was just like, that was really fun. I can't think of any reason why I was motivated to do that though. Like I was just like, this is just something I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden I did it. It was something that they say in improv is don't be afraid to fail. And like ever since I first heard that, I was like, whoa, maybe I should apply that to like everything. Yeah. And going back to improv and sort of the whole performing thing, a friend of mine got married in Alberta last year, and my friends and I flew out and we had a great time out there. And even from like the first day he told me that he was getting married, I was like, oh, I've got to give a speech. And I started working on my speech immediately, and I only had the first line for about 6 months. Yeah. And I was like, I got to come up with something. And I was getting really nervous right up until the day. And so the day of the wedding happens, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go up and wing it and hope something happens. And apparently I gave a really great speech. Yeah.
Hard to remember that.
Exactly. Though. Like afterwards, everyone was like, that was the best speech of the night. And then the groom's parents went up and they gave an amazing speech. So I was the second best speech of the night, but still
a pretty good speech.
And another friend of mine is getting married this summer, and he's explicitly told me, don't write anything down. Don't try to plan anything for this. Go up and give as good a speech this time around as you did last year. So that might be a tough repeat performance, but I think I can do it.
So it's like, I'm still trying to figure it out because, I was in radio. I'm like a weatherman. Do I just crave attention? Do we just crave attention? Or is it that we want to entertain people?
Right.
Because I value entertainment so much in my life.
Yeah.
Whether it's like colleagues of mine or whether it's movies and stand-up comedy, I am like obsessive and with music as well. I love to be entertained. And I think it's kind of cool to be able to entertain people. And I think it's that first laugh that you get on stage. It's addicting.
I think that what finally sort of made me flip the switch and go, okay, I'm going to be an actor kind of thing was I was watching a friend of mine in a movie, and I'm like, I could do this. Yeah. Why aren't I doing this? Right. And then it wasn't even like a nerves thing, like, oh, how am I going to, it was just sort of, I'm going to do this. I just need to figure out how. And sort of from there, I've ended up where I am now, which is I'm performing essentially for a living, and I'm having a great time doing it. And I don't know if I could go back to just doing all those awful jobs that I'm basing a show on.
How free do you feel right now?
I feel very free, but at the same time, I owe a lot of money for school. So I'm not quite free yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in terms of waking up in the morning and going, I'm going to accomplish this, and this by the end of the day, and then setting out and doing that, because I have this crazy schedule where, the only set thing is Wednesdays I go down to Second City, and then everything else I can sort of set aside and work on projects, because I see myself as sort of a project-oriented person as opposed to just a general do something
right
ad nauseum,
Yeah.
So that's why I release an album or an EP every 6 months. I go, this is my deadline. This is what I'm going to do. And every time I have to do something better, or at least very different than the last time. And just with Jobless, we set out, we go, this is what we want to do for our episode. We're not going to stop until we get that. And if it takes a long time, which it does, we're going to do it, because that's how we look at things.
Right.
Excuse me.
And my last question for today. One of the things I've gone through spells, especially through the winter time, I get what you would call the winter blues, if you will.
Yes.
I fall into sometimes deep depression. It hasn't been as bad in years past because I've figured out some better coping mechanisms. And one of them was something a philosopher had written about, actually kind of a modernized one from the 50s, Alan Watts.
Oh, okay.
And he talks all about creativity and the creative mind. And how you should not go a day without doing something creative. And when I started to implement that, and I'm not great at doing it every day, but I'm great at doing a hell of a lot more than I used to be, it made a huge difference in my life. How important to you is being a creative person for your well-being?
I would say it's essential. I don't want to make some grand statement where I'd be dead if I didn't have art. But it's one of those things where it's I'll think about it. If I wasn't doing this, what would I be doing? And I don't have an answer. I think to myself, I'm going to open up Photoshop, and by the time I close it, I'm going to have a picture of something that I'm at least going to be I'm going to come back to this and work on. I'm going to be finished it, or I'll do the same thing with, open up Final Cut Pro and I'll be editing a video or something like that. Or I will start a song. I released an album on Friday, so 3 days ago, and I've already got another brand new song that sounds absolutely nothing like anything I've ever written before. And I'm in love with it. I listened to it 5 times just on the way here.
Yeah.
And just because I'm all right, I love this. I need to do more like this. What do I need to change about this? And then probably as soon as I go home, I'm going to be back to work on that song, just because I know this is something that I'm in complete control of, and I can do something that matters to me.
Right.
It might not matter to anybody else, but this matters to me, and creativity is just such a big part of that.
And it's not even, some people may not be gifted in the way of music, although I would argue that you just need to pick up an instrument and practice, and you'll get better at it.
Practice is a big thing.
But I mean, you can sing, you can draw, you can paint, you can build a deck, you can do DIY projects around the house. There's so many ways to be creative. I think that you're right. It's essential for your well-being to be able to do that, because it gives you a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you've got the winter blues, which means, usually you're stuck in a house for the day, just sit down with a piece of paper and draw something. And if that if that inspires you to do something else, go do that as well. Or just write anything, just do something that you can say, I did that.
Yeah.
And
For anyone listening right now, it's that moment when you're doing something creative. Think back to anything that you've ever done in your life that was creative, and think about how you didn't think about time, and you didn't think about what was happening or what you had to do in 2 hours. You got lost in that moment. Maybe it was only for 15 minutes. Maybe it was for 2 hours. Try and do that as much as you can. Find that thing that you can get lost in. Maybe it's just playing video games. Who knows? But find that thing, because I think that is one of the big keys to happiness. Not the key, but one of them.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And there are a lot of people who are actors who don't like being an actor. And, instead of saying, oh, we'll do something else, just sort of ask them to find out why they don't like that. It's oh, they're stuck doing this. They can't do anything else now. Well, okay. They can keep doing this and not like it. And they can also try to pick up another skill, or just start doing something at least a little different that makes them happy, and let that build.
And you know what? And one of those things that'll make you happy is going to check out Jobless. You should definitely go find Jobless. Also, go and find Bale Exposed on Funny or Die or on YouTube as well. You know what? I got a feeling we're going to be seeing you on television and movies. You're a funny guy and you're good at it.
Well, thank you.
From what I've seen, I look at you, I'm like, this guy's funny, and you look like you're going to be adaptable to different roles. So
I appreciate that.
Please just keep doing what you're doing. Keep on the straight and narrow, and good things will happen. Because I get like really good vibes from you that you're just a laid back guy that's doing what he wants to do and is having a good time while he does it.
I'm trying my best.
And it's those are the type of people that will be successful at what they try and do, because you're not trying to be something you're not, even though you're an actor, and you're definitely always trying to be something you're not.
That's the job. Yeah.
and once again, plug the album.
Yes, the album is it's called Power.
Operating system
that I use?
No, isn't that in the name of a song?
No.
What was it called? It starts with an O.
There is. Oh, that's it. This is embarrassing. I should know.
Let's look up our track listings. It's like
the song that you're gonna play. Okay, seventh song. That would be.
It's like halfway down, isn't it? Like operating system or something.
Halfway down is registry or memory.
Hold on, let me see.
All right,
hold on. No. Information Superhighway.
The Information Superhighway.
That was my favorite track when I heard it. And that was the one when I was listening to it that triggered Logic System, that Japanese band.
Okay,
because there are a lot of similarities. So you can find it at Bandcamp. What's the Bandcamp address?
It's martignetti.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
Or if you go to my website that is listed in the About This video, everything about me is there. Like my contact information, my Twitter, all that stuff, my Facebook, all my music, the Dashing Diner, my acting, everything. It's all on my website. So if you want to go there, and then from there you can find me everywhere else, go right ahead. You can send me an email. You can do whatever. And yeah, I hope you enjoy Information Superhighway. It was a late addition to the album. It was sort of inspired by that new film Kung Fury.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
wicked stuff.
The artist who did most of the music for that movie, his name's Mitch Murder. He does this fantastic '80s throwback kind of stuff, and he's released an EP that's just for an imaginary Sega game that he just came up with.
Yeah.
And he does like covers of songs, like he does a cover of the Terminator theme and all this stuff, and he did the music for Kung Fury, especially that David Hasselhoff single True Survivor.
Right.
And I'm like, I need to do something that sort of has that feel, that like sort of I think the genre is called like Outrun.
Yeah. Outrun, great game.
Just like driving at night in the 80s, that kind of thing. And I was like, I need something like that. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys that. And once again, check out my website if you want to get in touch or just see what I'm up to.
Absolutely. Okay, once again, that was Adam Martignetti, and you've been listening to episode 20 of PTBOCanada.com, proudly sponsored by Ben Van Veen Realtor.
Ben.
And yeah, thank you, Ben. We love you, Ben Van Veen. He's a guy that's not mean. He's actually quite clean. You can find him at his website, benvanveen.realtor. And that's it for the podcast. Once again, thanks for joining us, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right.